Good morning. Good morning. Good morning and good morning. I am I feel like I've been gone for a month, but it's only been this week that I haven't been doing the show. And so for anyone who didn't get the notifications or the email or see any of the posts, I didn't do the show cuz I went to New Jersey with my family to celebrate my brother's life on the 1 year anniversary of his passing. And so I wanted to quickly, before we jump in, we are going to talk about the overhauling of straight America today. And and so the overhauling of straight America is sorry, it is the blueprint. Okay, it is the LGBT movement agenda. Okay, it is the blueprint for this LGBT movement, the whole entire propaganda, the how it's moved in on every nation really, but especially this nation. And so we're gonna look at that. We're gonna dive into that. But first, I wanted to share something because I felt like I know a lot of people had let me know that they had some similar moments. So I'm just gonna read something to you that I posted. 1 year ago, Tuesday, many lives changed in one split second. While my mom was on hold with her bank and I was in my office wrapping up a live stream podcast, my nieces, Tara and Tiffany, were holding the cold hand of their father in a hospital emergency room after he had passed away. As I hung up my office phone, a bit excited because I was just talking to Christian Life magazine, they were going to interview me. My mom came into the office and handed me the house phone handset. And I heard the words, "He's gone, Uncle David." And in one split second, nothing would ever be the same again. In one split second, there was a tragedy, a storm, in which each of us would be enduring some very trying times mentally, emotionally, and definitely spiritually. February 4th, 2019, my brother made his last trip into the Wawa convenience store to buy his coffee. His heart failed him, and in one split second, he was gone from this world. Although many see the tragic storm that threatens to envelop them, I was so very blessed to see something else within just hours from that one split second when our lives changed. The blessing was to watch relationships blossom and hearts be healed and eyes be open to the urgency that we must have to love and appreciate each person that is a part of our lives. In one split second, a new relationship and bond was created between my mother and my cousin, who is more like a brother to me and a son to her, after enduring the battles of thoughts and feelings for many years. In one split second, a new bond and a new relationship grew between my mother and my nieces, one with a very special common link. A bond that will never be broken by anything in or of this world again. In one split second, my nieces were now being moved into a stronger and more solid bond with one another. They now knew it was time to be so much more to and for one another than ever before. In one split second, my sister Christine would be spending much more time with mom, and a relationship like she never knew before was about to blossom with her nieces. In one split second, my nephew George learned a very valuable lesson about the meaning of life and how important family and loved ones are. In one split second, our lives were changed. In one split second, the enemy attempted to come in and to kill, steal, and destroy lives and relationships even more than he had done in years prior. But God, hallelujah. In one split second, God Almighty, Yahweh Himself, He took what the enemy meant for wickedness and He turned it around for His good, granting each of us a very special bond and a lesson. In one split second, we were all touched. We were all pricked. We were all scarred, but we were also all blessed. And I say thank you, Father God, for your almighty and magnificently perfect will. Though many of us will never understand the whys, I know that we're not meant to. I want everybody to know that sometimes we're just not meant to. We just have to say, I trust you, Lord. So as we gathered on the beach, I asked for prayers, and it was a blessing to truly see the many unmerited gifts our loved ones are being granted from above. Many of them are unrecognized, but many of them that are recognized, it's because they're seeing them through Yahweh's lens instead of our own worldly traditional lens, right? I do not know what it is like for my mother, as I have no clue what it means to lose a child. And although I did lose my dad, I never knew him. So I do not know what it is like for my nieces, as they were very close to their dad, their Papa Dukes. I do now know what it feels like to lose a sibling, though. And there are moments when I think I'm going to call my brother up. I'm going to talk to him. Or real quick in my head, I think I need to message him something and just to see what's up with him. And then I realize that he's gone, right? But it's in those moments that I choose to look at all the blessings and the amazing relationships that are growing rapidly in one split second. It's such a blessing. It's such a blessing. It's just a blessing. Because I got to see my family come together, and so this week was amazing. And I'll tell you what, I am beat. I'm drained, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, but spiritually. And I'm gonna spend this weekend just being renewed. Amen. I haven't drove 12 hours straight through in a long time. I usually stop after 4 or 5 hours because I'm just driving kills me now. But I did it. I did it there and I did it home, and I'm just beat. So anyway, I want to get into the overhauling of straight America because it's so important. It really is. We don't realize exactly what's been put right before us, right? And again, I have to stress, when we talk about the LGBT movement, we are not talking about those people that we know in our lives, our family members. We're not talking about our friends. We're not talking about our coworkers. We're not talking about the ones that are wearing T-shirts saying that they are pro-abortion, homosexual witches. We're not talking about your neighbors that don't bother anybody. We're not talking about your neighbors that are always flaunting and pushing their sin, their death style, their what they call their lifestyle in your face. Okay. We're not even talking about those that are marching outside of the Supreme Court for homosexual marriage. We're not talking about those people that are marching down the street with rainbow body paint on and feather boas and glitter and doing lewd and lascivious and obscene things and acts in front of children or to children or that. We're not talking about them. That's not the movement. All of those people are victims of this movement. They're victims of the enemy. And they've been indoctrinated. They've been put in bondage. And I'll tell you something about that bondage. They're sincerely there. They truly do believe that it is who and what they are. And because the enemy has made everybody believe that homosexuality is a lifestyle and not a death style, once they accept that that is who and what they are, it becomes their whole life. So they are not standing up to stand against you or me. They're standing up to protect their life and what they sincerely and truly believe to be who and what they are. We better understand that, especially before diving into this, because a lot of people are going to see some dark things coming out of this movement. The LGBT movement is a dark political mass. It is the enemy himself. Okay? And it is a dark, dark political mass. And you know it is because it's on both sides. Okay? It's on the right and it's on the left. That's why I tell everybody all the time, the left isn't always wrong and the right isn't always right. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a man of God, a child of Yahweh. And until we get to that place and we can see things through his lens, we may not be seeing things the way they truly are. Wow. All right. I'm going to try to get in here and share this. Now, the overhauling of straight America, okay, it actually was okay, so we see this is a must-read article, right? Originally published in Guide magazine in 1987. Okay, overhauling of straight America is the blueprint for the now global homosexual propaganda campaign to replace marriage-based society with a culture of sexual anarchy. Remember that. A 1999 book based on this outline, titled After the Ball, which really has become the Bible, quote unquote, of homosexual propagandists. And listen to me, folks. Even the homosexual propagandists are victims of the movement itself. Okay. So we're gonna look at the overhauling of straight America. And so this is their article. It says these are actually relevant excerpts from the article. next week, we will be going into the book After the Ball so that people can actually and truly see what this movement is and why it is so difficult for those who are trapped in it to get away from it. So, going into the article itself, the first order of business is desensitization of the American public concerning gays and gay rights. To desensitize the public is to help it view homosexuality with indifference instead of with keen emotion. Ideally, we would have straights register differences in sexual preference the way they register different tastes for ice cream or sports games. Strawberry, I like vanilla, she likes strawberry. He follows baseball, I follow football. No big deal, right? At least in the beginning, we are seeking public desensitization and nothing more. We do not need and cannot expect a full appreciation or understanding of homosexuality from the average American. You can forget about trying to persuade the masses that homosexuality is a good thing. But if only we can get them to think that it is just another thing with a shrug of their shoulders, then your battle for the legal and social rights is virtually won. And to get to shoulder shrug stage, homosexuals as a class must cease to appear mysterious. Okay? They're saying, look, you got to stop appearing mysterious. You got to stop appearing alien and loathsome and contrary. A large-scale media campaign will be required in order to change the image of gays, of homosexuals in America. And any campaign to accomplish this turnaround should do 6 things. 1, and listen, I kind of started to dive into this on Dry Bones Tuesday night, but this right here, it deserves a whole lot more attention. And so next week we're gonna really look into the LGBT movement's agenda. We're gonna look at the book After the Ball, and whatever we don't cover today of the overhauling of straight America, we'll also cover next week. So number 1, they say, is to talk about homosexuals and homosexuality as loudly and as often as possible. See, the principle behind this advice is simple. Almost any behavior begins to look normal if you are exposed to it to enough of it at close quarters and among your acquaintances. The acceptability of the new behavior will ultimately hinge on the number of one's fellows doing it or accepting it. One may be offended by its novelty at first. Many at first, y'all. Many in times past were momentarily scandalized by streaking, eating goldfish, and even premarital sex. See, even the LGBT movement knows and is paying attention to the fact that the church could care less about fornication anymore. How about that? But as long as Joe Sixpack feels little pressure to perform likewise, And as long as the behavior in question presents little threat to his physical and financial security, he soon gets used to it and life goes on. The skeptic, and well, let me just say this, don't be Joe Sixpack, okay? The skeptic may still shake his head and think, huh, people are crazy these days. But over time, his objections are likely to become more reflective, more philosophical, and less emotional. The way to benumb raw sensitivities about homosexuality is to have a lot of people talk a great deal about the subject in a neutral or supportive way. Open and frank talk makes the subject seem less furtive, alien, and sinful, more above board. Wow. Constant talk builds the impression that public opinion is at least divided on the subject, and that a sizable segment accepts or even practices homosexuality. Even rancorous debates between opponents and defenders serve the purpose of desensitization so long as respectable gays, homosexuals, are front and center to make their own pitch. See, the main thing is to talk about homosexuality until the issue becomes thoroughly tiresome. Wow. And when we say talk about homosexuality, we mean just that. In the early stages of any campaign to reach straight America, the masses should not be shocked and repelled by premature exposure to homosexual behavior itself. In the early stages of any campaign to reach straight America, the masses should not be shocked and repelled by premature exposure to homosexual behavior itself. Instead, the imagery of sex should be downplayed. Are we paying attention here? And homosexual rights should be reduced to an abstract social question as much as possible. First, let the camel get his nose inside the tent. Only later, his unsightly derriere. The average American household watches over 7 hours of TV daily. Those hours open up a gateway into the private world. Look, they open up a gateway, all right. Okay. And of course, not even, but of course, the LGBT movement knows it. Those hours open up a gateway into the private world of straights, through which a Trojan horse might be passed. So far, gay Hollywood has provided our best covert weapon in the battle to desensitize the mainstream. Wow. Bit by bit over the past 10 years, homosexual characters and homosexual themes have been introduced into TV programs and films, though often this has been done to achieve comedic and ridiculous effects. On the whole, the impact has been encouraging. While public opinion is one primary source of mainstream values, religious authority is the other. When conservative churches condemn homosexuals, there are only two things we can do to confound the homophobia of true believers. Listen, the LGBT movement is a dark political mass, right? It's the enemy himself. So the enemy is saying that when conservative churches condemn homosexuals, okay, recognizing them to be what? True believers. There's only two things we can do to confound the homophobia of true believers. Let me tell you. Man, oh man. First, we can use talk to muddy the moral waters. This means publicizing support for homosexuals by more moderate churches, raising theological objections of our own about conservative interpretations of biblical teachings, and exposing hatred and inconsistency. But wait a minute. If they're true believers, then it's not really hatred and inconsistency, is it? Second, we can undermine the moral authority of homophobic churches by portraying them, okay, by trying to make them seem or look like, right? By portraying them as antiquated backwaters, badly out of step with the times and with the latest findings of psychology. Guess what? My God could never be badly out of step with the times, because he is the same yesterday, he is the same today, and he's going to be the same forevermore. And the latest findings of psychology matter not to my God, because my God is the one who designed us, one male and one female, with a natural function, with a sex organ that naturally fits into the sex organ of the opposite sex. And so whether it be chemical imbalances or our indoctrination or just our ridiculous way our minds work because we want to rely on thoughts and feelings, it has absolutely no bearing on the truth. Against the mighty pool of institutional religion, one must set the mightier draw of science and public opinion. I wonder if public opinion mattered to Noah. Do you think that public opinion mattered to Noah? Really? So they want to use science and public opinion, the shield and sword of that accursed secular humanism, right? Such an unholy alliance has worked well against churches before on such topics as divorce and abortion. With enough open talk about the prevalence and acceptability of homosexuality, that alliance can work again here. Wait a minute. So the LGBT community really is a movement because they just recognize themselves and as an unholy alliance, not much different than the sins of divorce or adultery and murder or abortion. How about that? See, words really do matter, right? And sometimes when we write things down, we reveal so much truth, even when we're trying to tell some lies. So the second part of their agenda on this is to portray homosexuals as victims, not as aggressive challengers. In any campaign to win over the public, homosexuals must be cast as victims in need of protection, so that straights will be inclined by reflex to assume the role of protector. But folks, we're going to pick up right here at number 2 on Monday. Because real quick, I'm going to show you an article I found, and we're actually gonna look at it, right? Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. I wanted to show you, not that one. If I can find it. Here we go. One of the clips, right, in the desensitization says to desensitize straights, homosexuals inundate them with conscious flood of homosexual related advertising presented in the least offensive fashion. If straights can't shut the shower off, they may at least eventually get used to being wet. And then under the conversion area of the book, after the ball, right? It says conversion of the average American's emotions, mind, and will through a planned psychological attack. You hear that, Chance? Through a planned psychological attack in the form of propaganda fed to the nation by way of the media, we mean subverting the mechanism of prejudice to our own ends, using the very process that made America hate us to turn their hatred into warm regard, whether they like it or not. Oh yeah, we're gonna have some moments next week, yo. Because we are going to be unleashing some hella truth. And do exactly what Yahweh has called us to do, right? And that's to expose the darkness, expose the wickedness. But not just expose it in this manner either. Because I truly just felt like maybe we really don't get that verse. And yeah. So I would just suggest everybody go. Hold on, give me 1 minute. Ephesians 5:11. Do not participate in the unfruitful deeds of darkness, but instead even expose them. Expose them Maybe we all need to look at that. Expose them to what? To the light, right? Expose the darkness to the light. So it's not so much about exposing them as exposing them to the light that dwells within us. Okay? But we're going to spend next week exposing the dark political mass that we know as the LGBT movement, and exposing the methods in which they've used to get to the point where they're at now, and making people aware, because people need to be made aware of where all this came from. That it's not just something that popped up. That it's not something like people are not giving in just because they're giving in because they've been targeted, and there's been an agenda, and it's been a psychological attack, and they don't even know that they've been attacked. You know, when they first started running movies, I don't know if they do it now still, but when they first started doing doing the movie at the movies, right? In the big reels that they had, they would put in these little splices. It was like a nanosecond, right? Of a picture of a hot dog, or a picture of a candy bar, or a soda, refreshments, right? But you wouldn't see it, but you'd see it. And then about partway through the movie, you just really start craving a hot dog or some popcorn or some pop, right? That's not a coinky dink. That's not happenstance, okay? And that is the same way everybody. Disney has done it since the very beginning of Disney ever coming together. Disney has done it to your children by sexualizing them and trying to indoctrinate them and trying to expose them to the occult. Okay, now I know a lot of people don't even believe that now, because I know a whole lot of people who claim to love Yahweh but run down to Disneyland every year with their family, exposing themselves and their families, their children, to that evil and wickedness. But anyway, yeah, so that's what it is, right? And I look forward to Monday, and we're going to tie it all in with a very special guest that, this whole movement ties into Alfred Kinsey, right? One of the biggest pedophile scientists ever. It all ties into Harry Hay, what they call the godfather or great grandfather of the homosexual rights movement. And do you know it even ties into Hitler? Yeah, it's a dark movement, and it goes way, 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 way back. And it's upon us. It's upon us. And it is enveloping and engulfing, targeting, preying on, and devouring your children and your grandchildren and your families and your friends and your neighbors. And it's time that we started doing what we've been called to do. And that's stand up for, wake up, expose, and give them the truth, right? In love. Because we love, which is only possible because we were first love. Thank you. Hey, look, I love you guys. And I'm going to spend a whole lot of time this weekend resting. All right. So, y'all have a blessed weekend. And who knows? Maybe I'll pop on sometime over the weekend and do a little something. So I haven't done anything all week, right? Y'all bless each of you, and know that I love you and I appreciate you. Peace.